This is supposed
Testing.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. It's okay? I don't know how much it's doing up here, though. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing, 1, 2. Make a motion to resume public session?
I second it.
Okay, can we get a vote on the motion to return to regular session? All in favor? Okay, 6-0. Can we please get a roll call? Present.
Here.
Present.
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 Okay, thank you very much. Can we please get a motion for the adoption of the agenda from for the August 9th meeting? Motion. Dr. Block, and a second, Deborah Brooks. All in favor? 6-0. Thank you very much. So I want to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. We're hoping that it will be fairly quick. We have a fairly short agenda. That's all I have to say tonight. So I'll give that to Dr. Hines, who has quite a lot to say tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm hoping that you came here before the torrential downpour that is either still taking place right now or took place before. So welcome. Great to see you both here physically and virtually for those of you who are joining us. Before I begin, I'd like to welcome our soon-to-be new assistant PPS director, Derek Pastone. Derek, how are you? Nice to see you. Congratulations. Just want to welcome you to our board meeting. I'm very happy that you'll be joining us. The second thing I'd like to update the community and certainly the Board of Education about has to do with enrollment. Now, as we know, Dr. Shields, each board meeting provides an enrollment report. I'm going to steal his thunder this evening regarding some of the class sizes that we have in one school in particular. We're looking at Guggenheim, where Guggenheim incoming kindergarten class has grown exponentially over the past several months, and we've been keeping a very close eye on that. With that said, we have board policies, one that really focuses on the primary level, K through 2, and then the second board policy that focuses on class size at the intermediate level in grades 3 through 5. And so what we're doing, because right now the kindergarten class sizes are above the board policy, we are collapsing a section and we're moving a teacher to the kindergarten class to reduce the class size at Guggenheim right now. At this point then, we'll be in compliance with all of the board policies from a class size standpoint, and that's always a good thing. Now, of course, we are only at the somewhat beginning of August, and these numbers do change, and we will continue to closely monitor what that looks like. The last thing I want to talk about very quickly is really 6.3 in the agenda that we have. And as we have always done, we have listened to reports, or at least an update from Dr. Shields and Dr. Allen regarding the District Protocols Committee. And I just want to be clear, not only with the board, but certainly our community. Where we are right now, we have received no further information from the New York State Department of Health and from the Nassau County Department of Health. So the way that we ended last year, in a very positive note, as normal can be during these trying times, we will beginning the beginning of this school year the same way. And I just want to let the community and the board know where we are. Also, I'm in contact almost daily with my colleagues, not only in the quadrant, in the 12 school districts that surround us, that are very close to us, but certainly my counterparts in Suffolk County and Westchester as well. So that's a very good thing. The last thing I want to say is that, and I know parents probably want to hear this, and educators may not want to hear this, we will be very close to school. And the first day of school is my favorite day of the year, and for parents, that may be the case for you too. But in all seriousness, we've been working very hard over the summer to ensure that we are focused on making sure that your students, your children actually have an incredible experience. Some of the things that we remember from last year with the beginning of, with the opening was transportation and how we had some students, dropped off in places that they were a little further from their home than they should have been. We are being incredibly diligent to make sure those things don't happen again. So we're focused on that too. So that's my update for now, and I turn it back to you, President Smith.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hines. So that's the extent of the enrollment. No report from Dr. Shields tonight? Okay, great. So with that, we are going to go to community comments. I'd like to remind the community, if you could please go up to the podium and sign in, and your name will be called when it's your turn. Each speaker is permitted 3 minutes, and each speaker, I think there's a hot mic or something here. Each speaker is permitted 3 minutes, and to the extent that we have many comments saying the same thing, we may ask people to only speak if they have something different to add. But with that, if you could, we will open to community comments. Thank you.
David London?
Good evening. My name is David London, longtime listener, first-time complainer. I'm a parent of 2 children currently enrolled in South Salem Elementary. Our family lives on Cliff Way, and our children are fortunate enough to be independent walkers. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I thank you for creating a forum in which the community can openly speak about such important issues. You can see by tonight's turnout, including online, we're not the only family concerned about the decision to close the Cliffway Gate. And Dr. Hines, you opened up the meeting by saying, I hope we all got here before the rain. So what I would like to talk about is the dangers of traffic. In the United States, using statistics from the CDC website, over the past 20 years, the leading cause of accidental death for children ages 5 through 11 is due to traffic-related accidents, averaging 638 deaths per year. The narrow streets in our beautiful neighborhood were not built to simultaneously and safely support the amount of volume coming from buses, garbage trucks, delivery trucks, gardeners, commuters, and children walking to school. This is the reason why so many families rely on the safety of the Cliffway Gate. Families often opt for a longer Cliffway route as they value the safety of their children over the convenience of a faster, more direct path. Considering that none of the alternative routes in our neighborhood have sidewalks, during peak school traffic times, the crowded, narrow streets of Crestwood and Lynn, along with the existence of a very dangerous blind curve, raise serious safety issues. The alternative routes become even more dangerous once you add in some rain, snow, or other low visibility, slippery conditions, much like what we've experienced tonight. In speaking to many concerned members of our neighborhood, including safety-conscious first responders who are very familiar with both the Cliffway Gate and the Crestwood Lynn alternative routes, the overwhelming consensus is that forcing children off the safe Cliffway sidewalk and onto the more treacherous alternative routes is both, and I'm cleaning up the language they used here, short-sighted and dangerous. 1 minute, I counted 1 minute. Some families will ultimately decide that their safest option will be to drive their children to school, thereby compounding the danger for the remaining walkers. Closing the Cliffway Gate will significantly increase the traffic congestion around the neighborhood, as well as the school's main entrance. This will certainly increase the risk of traffic-related deaths and injuries. Again, the leading cause of accidental death for children aged 5 to 11 is due to traffic-related accidents. Closing the Cliffway Gate will force children and families off of safe sidewalks and onto more dangerous alternative routes. A few possible solutions. Post another security guard for arrival dismissal. Use existing staff to monitor walkers in high-traffic areas on campus. Have families stop at the Cliffway Gate, if that's the real main concern, and allow only students to fully walk onto campus. A bit more targeted, but only allow independent walkers arrival dismissal access via the Cliffway Gate. Please, please, let's hit the pause button on this plan and work together to keep the gate open. Thank you for listening to our concerns. We hope that we can find a better solution.
Meredith Kravitsky?
evening. My name is Dr. Meredith Kravitsky. I'm a working parent of 2 rising 4th grade students at Salem Elementary School. I'm here to speak in favor of keeping the Cliffway Gate open for arrival and dismissal. The plan to close this entrance will force those students who walk to school to traverse a more dangerous route, including sidewalkless narrow streets with a blind curve, as has already been discussed. For many years, the Cliffway Gate and entrance have served our community with no serious safety issue. However, it seems that the recent school shooting in Texas has everyone spooked. The human brain is not very good at calculating risks, so here are some statistics. Per a criminologist at Northeastern, the odds that an American child will die in a mass shooting at school is nearly 10 million to 1, about the same as being killed by lightning, maybe tonight, or dying in an earthquake. Meanwhile, based on information by the CDC, the odds of being struck by a car in the United States is about 1 in 4,200. The odds of dying as a result of being struck by a car are 1 in 47,000. So which risk are we more willing to take, 10 million to 1 or 4,000 to 1? All for an unclear safety benefit by closing this entrance. Additionally, it is disturbing to me that the decision was made in part by a committee who may not have been aware that this policy change would force children to walk along an unsafe route. My 4th graders were looking forward to being able to walk back and forth to school by themselves this year, a safe choice considering that they did not have to cross any major street and were using a path with full sidewalk coverage. However, the closure of the Cliffway entrance precludes that choice. They will now have to be driven to school by car, which is not only an inconvenience to my family, but also adds into the already congested car arrival and dismissal line. And let me further state that I am not the type of person who comes to school board meetings to argue with the dedicated professionals in charge of our children's education. I have the utmost respect for our teachers, staff, and administrators who are doing their best every day for our kids. But when a hasty reactionary decision is made that could adversely affect our community, it is my duty to speak up. Thank you for your attention.
Stan Lacy.
Thank you very much for the time. I would echo the safety concerns. I rise to speak to the same issue. We also live on Cliffway, and my daughter walks to school every day through that Cliffway entrance. It is an inconvenience to walk the long way around, but it is less safe, as has been stated. The other thing that I would like to point out is that this policy also seems largely unenforceable to me. The Cliffway Gate is not 8 feet high with razor wire. It is 4 feet high, and if I were 10 years old and a little bit late to school, I would jump it. And I think that many children will choose to do that. So I think figuring out a solution for pedestrians to continue to walk that way to school is a better way to go. I think it could be done easily, probably with no more personnel that are already there, and just make sure that a pathway is clearly marked. And those are my thoughts on the matter. Thank you very much.
Nora Coleman Lacy.
Good evening, school board. Thank you so much for allowing us to comment on this issue. I'm also a parent, well, Stan's wife, and a parent of a rising 2nd grader at Salem Elementary. I just want to address one thing that hasn't been discussed by all of my peers yet, and that is, I think the danger that Dr. Ferrante expressed in the email letting us know that the Cliffway door would be closed. Apparently, the concern was that if Cliffway walkers walk down the hill to the, from the backfield off of Cliffway to the front of the building, that there would somehow be a problem with them coming into contact with school buses. And while I understand that concern, I'm going to go back to the good doctor's comparison. I think that concern is dwarfed by the concern of the kids filling the streets in Salem, going around Cliffway and walking on Crestwood and similar streets with no sidewalks. And I believe very strongly that all of the parents here tonight, everybody on the school board tonight, and Dr. Ferrante have the same goal in mind, which is the safety of our children. I have absolutely no doubt that that was the goal of the policy. I just believe that, as parents who live in the neighborhood, as the school principal, Dr. Ferrante, and whoever made the decision see it from the school's perspective, which is understandable. And we see it from the neighborhood's perspective, which is also understandable. We're the ones who, driving to the train or driving to my job, which is on West Shore Road, and I go through the streets in Salem, I see the landscaping trucks and all of the traffic, headed with people who are late going to the train station, going around blind curves and really not paying attention the way they should, I think that the risk to the children is much higher walking there than it is walking through the field and down around the front of the school. I also think that there's a lot of possibilities that could be explored to make sure that the children who are walking across the field and down to the area where the buses are dropping off can be kept safe. I mean, it could be as easy as, you know, a path made for them with barriers that I know the school has, or, you know, like somebody else mentioned, properly deployed staff members directing the children in a certain way. They could go around the other way, which my daughter does all the time when she runs to play with her friends on the schoolyard. So, you know, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that there was, you know, a safety concern on the other side of this that was related to traffic, but I don't think that that's an insurmountable obstacle. I do think that it's going to be very difficult keeping the kids safe in the streets of Salem in the morning in comparison. So I just wanted to mention that and add that to the conversation. Again, thanks so much for listening.
Joseph Del Serno.
Hello, Dr. Hines and the school board. Thank you for letting us speak on this topic. I'm here to speak about the same issue, the Cliffway Gate. The four people before me said most of what I was going to say. I live a little further north of the school, and I most often drive to the Cliffway Gate to let my daughter go to school to avoid the congestion in front of the school, which would only be made worse by this decision. The decision feels a little bit out of touch, and I don't want to make that sound like an insult, but Dr. Ferrante and the administrators at the school wake up at ungodly hours of the morning that I would not want to do myself to get there to make it ready for our children. But what they don't see is what the streets around the school look like at 8:30 a.m. And it is extremely congested, garbage trucks, landscaping vehicles, things like that. So I very much agree that this will not help any of those issues, and that it's much less safe to walk to the school from that direction. You know, we'd love to pretend that everyone is as careful as they could be in the mornings when they're running around the town, but we know that's not really the case. I think the one other thing that I would say is, well, again, this decision was obviously made in good faith and towards a concern that I think we all share, but speaking to, I think it was Meredith's point, that school shootings are extremely rare, and there's not anything in reality that could absolutely prevent any such sort of a terrible thing from happening. God forbid it ever did. But a 3-foot fence certainly isn't going to do that. Leaving the rear of the school completely unsupervised is not going to help that issue either. So I just think, as Nora said, there are probably other ways to address the traffic coming around to the front of the school if students are walking. You probably didn't hear a lot of complaints when the decision was made that students wouldn't have to go in the Cliffway door, or wouldn't be allowed to go in the Cliffway door, because I think everyone understood that there was some sort of reasonableness to that decision. And I think actually closing the gate, making everyone else go the other way, would be much different. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Kim London.
Before I start, I handed out a flyer that gives a visual. I just want to make sure you all received it. Okay, great. And for those at home, the visual is a map of South Salem that shows where there are and aren't sidewalks, as well as what the route looks like both ways when walking, to help you visualize what the walking path looks like for the children in both scenarios. So, hello. I'm Kim London, mother of 2 children at Salem. Thank you for allowing me to share my concerns. I'm here tonight representing the voices of those concerned parents that would like to have joined but were unable to come due to various circumstances. I would like to stress again that there are serious concerns from families within this community. Their inability to attend tonight shouldn't diminish the seriousness of their concerns. The timing of how this change was communicated is also unfortunate, as many families are away and have had very little time to communicate their concerns or explore a safer solution. Similar to the issues raised by previous speakers, we are concerned that children who, for many years, were able to safely walk to and from school on sidewalks are now being forced to walk on narrow streets with no sidewalks. Every alternative route to the school will be on roads that don't have sidewalks, leaving children and families in an unsafe situation. Some of these routes have blind curves, steep streets that will be slippery in inclement weather, parked cars in the street that families will have to maneuver around, causing them to walk further into the street alongside delivery trucks and many more dangerous obstacles. Those that choose to drive instead will add to the already congested streets where speeding and reckless driving have already been a major concern. Hence, all the additional stop signs added to the neighborhood over the last few years. This will further decrease the safety for walkers, bussers, and drivers. As previous speakers have pointed out, there are many other reasonable solutions to consider that are safer than having the kids walk in the streets. I'd like to invite Dr. Hines, your administration, all of the Board of Education members, Dr. Ferrante, and any concerned families who are unfamiliar with the proposed alternate walking route to join me in walking the new path.
30 seconds.
Those walking can meet me on the corner of Salem Lane and Crestwood Road at 9 a.m. on Friday, August 12th. I'd like you to experience firsthand the path that the children will have to take if they can't walk on Cliffway's safe sidewalks, so that you can fully appreciate the consequences of this decision. I will follow up with these details in an email as well. We ask that you please reopen the Cliffway Gate to provide a safer walking route to help protect our children, our families, and the whole Salem community.
Nicole Dittman.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Dittmar. I'm the mother of a rising fifth grader who actually has a different perspective. I live on Guilford Road, and I deal with the traffic day in, day out during the school year. We're in this blissful time right now where everyone's not in school, so I don't have traffic with our teachers, our fellow parents, and everyone racing up Guilford Road at speeds of excess of 30 miles an hour to try and get their child to school, or to have them try and shortcut the route where everyone's supposed to go through Wakefield for the pickup. There's a stop sign that is at Lynn and Guilford Road that most people literally blow past. I have seen my daughter's friends almost get hit by cars. And now, with the closing of Cliffway, we are adding excessive and unnecessary traffic, congestion, and noise and recklessness into a street that is already at excessive congestion during the school hours. We've got buses. I invite you, like Kim said, to come one morning and see how fast the buses are racing up Guilford. I can't even tell you what I experience. I have seen parents, teachers on their own cell phones driving up the street, and now we're adding more walkers into this, and I love the idea of people walking. I know in Port Washington, we have a serious problem with congestion, with people bringing their children to school in the cars instead of walking. And I think what this is doing, it's perpetuating more people who are going to be driving their children instead of doing a nice and healthy walk and exercise to the school. I appreciate the safety. I appreciate what everyone is trying to do, but there are other solutions other than having the children have to go through streets without sidewalks, with blind curves, and all of us who live on Guilford and Wakefield having to have the experience of more and more congestion. So I appreciate you thinking about it and taking this all under consideration and letting my fellow parents being able to speak. I do really wish that everyone takes this under serious consideration and rethinks. There are alternatives, and every one of us is here is willing to
30
work with
seconds.
you on those alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Thank you very much to all the community members who shared with us tonight. I believe breaking from the normal tradition of this board when we respond the following meeting, I do believe Dr. Hines wanted to address this topic tonight.
So let me begin by thanking our parents who came out tonight. I very much appreciate what you have shared, and I will relay those sentiments to Dr. Ferrante. You know, part of what we're trying to do as a school district is to increase the feedback loop in regard to decisions or recommendations that are made. And I think what you shared with us is very important information, and the perspectives that you have as parents, which is how I'm trying to listen to this as a parent, it's resonating. I just want to go back, and I don't think any of you were even nearly implying that this was a decision that was made in haste. I can tell you right now, you know, Pierre Ferrante, she'll probably be enshrined in the Administrator Hall of Fame because she cares so deeply about your children and you as parents. It's something that she considered. She knew that this potentially there would be some pushback with that, and I applaud her for trying to really focus on safety from a collective vantage point, not just from a transportation and a walking standpoint. But what I will do after this meeting, because she's probably texting me right now and I'm not checking my phone, is to have this conversation with her again tomorrow and really just have, you know, again, debrief about what was shared. On a side note, I drove to Cliffway yesterday. I was there, and I did walk some of the route. Not to say I wouldn't want to join you on Friday morning, but I did notice, you know, well, I've always noticed how narrow the streets are for sure, and how some streets have sidewalks and some don't. The visual you provided, by the way, I think is extremely helpful, so thank you for that handout. Really do appreciate it. And I will end by saying, listen, you know, we are all trying to make sure that your kids love school, whether they're walking to it or walking from it, and certainly when they are within, you know, our care. And we'll have an update soon at our next board meeting, which I believe is August 23rd. Okay? So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hines. So we're now going to move on to the next item in our agenda, which is committee reports. Our committees have not met since our last meeting, so we are going to skip committee reports, and we're moving on now to the adoption of the minutes. So if I can get a motion for the adoption of this is 10.1, the minutes from June 23rd, July 12th reorg meeting, and the July 12th BOE meeting. A motion from Ms. Brooks, a second from Ms. Epstein. All in favor? That's 6-4 and none opposed. So thank you very much. Moving on to the action items. We're going to make a little bit of a change here to the agenda, and we're going to have to pull item 11.1.8. So first, could we please get a motion to approve, and this one does include some donations, which we will thank after the approval. Items 11.1.1 through 11.1.7. Can we please get a motion to approve? Ms. Bays, a second. Mr. Block, Dr. Block, all in favor? It's 6-4, none against. So items 11.1.1 through 11.1.7 are approved. And we would like to thank the Salem HSA for the donation of a Gaga pit, the Ed Foundation for some additional grants from 2021-22 and additional grants for 22-23, and Hearts of Port Washington for some additional grants for 22-23. Moving to item 11.1.8, 11. Yeah, I'm going to go to 11.1.8. Yeah, 11.1.8. This is regarding the transportation contracts for this year. And what we're going to correct is first student is written as their contract amount being $701,773.00 is meant to be $70,773.00 for a grand total of $7,738,071.00. Before we vote on that, Mrs. O'Hara, we were hoping that you could give an update to the board and to the greater community as to where we landed this year on transportation in light of where we were when we did the budget.
So when we budgeted for transportation, we assumed a 5% increase to CPI. Since then, we had to go out for our main contract for transportation, and that actually increased 17%. We also, the CPI given to us by the state increased 6.3%. So the contracts that are presented tonight reflect an 11.6% increase over our budget, which is kind of an average of everything. And it's based on the current runs that we're projecting tonight. This could vary. This puts us at a deficit of about $800,000, which isn't as bad as we thought it was going to be, considering the 17% increase. So we will revisit this probably in January, as we have, it's kind of fluid, as we have different runs that we do need to do. Some may decrease, we may have additions of others. So any questions?
Yeah, I'll ask my question and then Rachel. Mrs. O'Hara, is there any change in state aid for transportation based on where the final number lands, or is that set?
There can be an adjustment based at the end of the year when we report to the state. We could receive additional funding if we have larger expenditures.
And so if we have this larger expenditure, are you counting that potential offset in the overage?
That hasn't been calculated into this yet.
I believe Ms. Gilliar had a question, and anyone on this side?
So I know the answer to this question, but since we're discussing it publicly, I want to make sure the public knows the answer to it, because I know a 17% increase sounds huge, and it's the only thing that makes 11% sound reasonable, because that also is a huge increase. I know how hard you work to make sure that these figures are negotiated to the absolute lowest number that they can possibly be. Can you just give the public a little background on that so that they understand that this isn't something that is, a lack of effort or something that we would have control over and didn't bother to lower?
Sure. So I'm sure many people are familiar with the bus shortages that we've been experiencing, as well as the bus driver shortages. The contractor that the district works with primarily for our main contract is Pierce. They were the only ones to actually bid on this transportation. We put the bid out to several vendors and requested that they respond to this. The problem is that it's very difficult for other vendors to actually purchase buses and to have the buses to actually bid on another school besides the ones they have. So Pierce, we did speak with them again and said, could you please work on your pricing? And it's very difficult for them to find drivers as well. They had just recently settled the contract with their drivers. So that's the increase. That's why it's reflected in the contract. The district is always looking at ways to save money for the taxpayers. We look at the different routes that the buses take. We have our own transportation director. We're hiring a dispatcher to also help with the process to see any efficiencies. We've actually put in the budget to purchase 2 smaller buses, 15-passenger buses, so that hopefully, if we're able to have the buses by December,
we can actually pick up some of the special education runs or different out-of-district placements. So we will continue to work diligently. Thanks.
Great. Any other questions, trustees? No? Great. Thank you very much, Mrs. O'Hara, for that explanation. So if we could please, we didn't vote on it yet, right? No? Okay. If we can please get a motion to approve 11.1.8. Ms. Epstein, second, please. Ms. Gilliar, all in favor? It's 6-4 and none against, so that is 11.1.8 passes. Next, we're going to finish the consent agenda with 11.1.9 through 11.6.1. If we could please get a motion to adopt. Ms. Brooks, a second. Ms. Bays, all in favor? 6-4, 0 against, so that passes as well. Thank you very much. Next, we have item 12, board policy, and we have 12.1, which is policy 5633, which I believe is on for approval tonight. Yes, and this is the gender-neutral single occupancy bathroom policy. We don't need to speak on. You don't have nothing to say on this. Yeah. So we're going to go right to a motion to approve. Can we get a motion to approve, please? Ms. Brooks. Second, Ms. Bays. All in favor? So that's 6-4 and none against. So policy 5633 passes. Moving on to old business, we have no community comments which are carried forward for answer today. So we will now open up for new business from any trustees. Dr. Block?
So yes, I wanted to bring up a new business agenda item. So when I visited Salem School the other day, actually a couple of weeks ago, I noticed that one of the large playgrounds was locked up. It had been locked up since at least July 15th. My understanding is that there was a big rainstorm like we had today, and a bunch of the wood chips got scattered away and needed to be replaced. My concern in the agenda item that I want to bring up was that it's my understanding that it's not going to be open until near the start of school, which means that what I consider a community park is closed for most of the summer. So I just wanted to address to the board that, my feeling as a board member is that these school parks should be made for the community, not just 10 months a year, 12 months a year, and that we try to maintain them during that 12-month period.
Does anybody want to comment on this, or should we save it? Not you. I guess the board. You don't have to if you don't want to. But does anybody want to talk about that? So I guess maybe this is something we can talk about in the budget and facilities committee. How we, as part of this playground committee that you want to form, maybe. So yeah.
So I think it's no secret how much I care about playgrounds and kids playing. Certainly the board does too. And Dr. Block, I appreciate you bringing this up this evening. I've spoken to Brian Graham, our new facilities director, and he's making this a priority to make sure we have the proper flooring for the playground as soon as possible. I think on a larger scale, though, as you spoke about, President Smith, is the fact that we have several playgrounds that the community enjoys, our students enjoy throughout the year, especially during the summer. And so we will be forming a playground committee to take a deep dive into all of our playgrounds to see how operational they are and to look at some long-term and short-term plans to make sure that our kids have what they deserve when it comes to that. So more to come about that, but this is something I'm very fortunate. I should say I'm very thankful you brought it up this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Hines.
Thank you, Dr. Hines, for taking action.
Yeah. Do we have any other new business from board members? No. So this is our second opportunity for the community to be heard. Do we have any speakers? No. So with that, can I please get a motion to adjourn? Oh, Ms. Bays, that's for you. A second? Oh, actually, hold on a second. Oh, okay. That's it. Deb second. Yeah, Deb second. Okay, all approved? Or all in favor? 6. So we are adjourned. And just to remind everybody, our next meeting date is August 23rd, followed by September 20th, and we hope to see everybody then. Thank you. Which trustee has